Hello everyone, it's Imran here. Welcome back to another video. So, I'm going to react to another Thomas audio story by Kiefer Adams. No, this isn't the premiere of season five of his audio story series, but it's an audio special that he uploaded way back. On January 31st, so nearly like 6 weeks ago. And this one is called A Dark Truth for Diesel. So yeah, it has been a while since I last reacted to Kiefer Adams. It has. I think it was the last audio story of season 4, which was Winter Rescue. I reacted to. If you want to see my that out, I'll have it up in the top right corner of your screen. And this is actually Kiefer's first time making an audio special. It is, well, apart from the Big City Thomas crossover special that he did last year. He did, but yeah. So Diesel, I don't know what Dark Truth Diesel what Dark Truth Diesel is going to find, but from what I can tell from the thumbnail of this video, it's going to be something pretty dark. It is. That's at least what I'm predicting is what's going to happen right here. We wanted to react to this for a few weeks now. Haven't had the opportunity until now. So let's just see what happens. Link to the video I'm reacting to in the description down below, as always. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get straight into this.
A Dark Truth for Diesel. Written and told by Kiefer Adams.
Love Kiefer's narrations.
If there is one thing an engine fears most, it's the threat of being scrapped. There are 2 scrapyards on the island of Sodor. There's Croc's scrapyard on Edward's branch line, where Trevor the traction engine had been saved by Edward. And then there was the Kildane Ironworks, where Ari and Bert worked.
You see, actually, I have in my head canon, there is 3 scrapyards on Sodor. There's obviously Croc's scrapyard, there's the Kildane Ironworks, and there's the one at the end of the Peel Godred branch line. There is, because there is some speculation of where the Ironworks is either at the end of the Peel Godred branch line or at Kildane. I like to think there's probably 2 scrapyards, one at the end of the Peel Godred line, one at Kildane, and obviously the other one at Cronk. That's at least in my head canon right there.
Each time an engine came to the smelters, they never liked the sight before them. Rows of engines that had long since passed their work in life, ready for the cutter's torch, would be the first thing to greet them, as well as the taunts of Ari and Bert. Some of the engines could brave the smelters, but others had to look down on their buffers, not wanting to look at the sight that stood before them. Ari and Bert took pride in teasing the steam engines about the end of their working life, but they were not the only ones. Devious Diesel delighted in tormenting the engines about the fear of scrap. He had been sent away by the Fat Controller many times, and the last time he was sent away in disgrace, he had almost cost Fergus of being the pride of the cement works. The other railway had turned Diesel away in disgrace, and secretly, the little shunter thought that he too was going to be scrapped. But luckily, thanks to the kindness of Mavis, Diesel was accepted as a northwestern engine. However, despite having the island of Sodor as his new home, Diesel, with or without Ari and Bert half the time, would still tease the steam engines and claim that Diesel's was still revolutionary and the steam engines were being shown the doors of the scrapyard. But one morning, all of that was about to change. Thomas arrived bright and early at the yards of Edward Station to do some shunting. Molly was already there.
Oh, so this takes place during the hit era.
Timid. Morning, Molly, Thomas greeted. Is everything all right? Molly stopped shunting, and Thomas could tell that she was shaking slightly. Not really, she said.
Oh dear.
Diesel came in earlier to collect some trucks for the coaling plant. Is it true what he says? About what? Asked Thomas. He says that engines that are yellow, brown, orange, pink, mainly colours that are Not proper for an engine, said Molly nervously. Should be scrapped. Is that true? Thomas could not believe what he had heard. No, it is not true, he snapped. All engines deserve to have a place on the island of Sodor, no
Yep.
matter what colour they are. And before Molly could ask another question, Thomas had puffed angrily away. In the past, Thomas would always bite his tongue whenever he heard things like this from Diesel. But after what Molly had told him, Thomas felt that Diesel had gone too far. Diesel was at the coaling plant with Ari and Bert. They were telling him about all the scrap they had cut up at the smelters, while Diesel was just talking about what he had said to Molly. Ari and Bert laughed hoarsely, but it didn't last long. Who do you think you are? Thundered Thomas as he drew up alongside the Diesel. Hello, Thomas, said Ari. Nice day, innit? Bert rumbled. Oh, hello, Thomas, said Diesel innocently. How is your day going? Don't you dare give me that, Thomas roared. How dare you say that to Molly? Say what? Diesel asked innocently. Telling her that engines that are yellow, pink, brown, orange, or whatever colour you said, should be cut up for scrap. Oh, calm down, Thomas, said Harry. Diesel was just saying it was a joke, Bert protested. Joke or not, said Thomas, you've really scared her, Diesel. Molly's still new to Sodor. Do you know what? The Fat Controller should have sent you away when you caused Fergus trouble. And if the other railway had their own way, Diesel, I wish they had scrapped you the moment you came back. You don't deserve to be here. And with that, Thomas stormed angrily out of the coaling plant. Harry and Bert exchanged nervous looks. To be honest, I think the steamer on that one, said Bert. Bye, Diesel, said Harry. Nice knowing you. And the Diesels rumbled away. Diesel remained silent, unsure what to think. No one had ever said that he should be scrapped. But it seemed now that Thomas was the first to say so. That afternoon, Thomas had finished shunting with Molly and was now helping out at Knapford Station. He had just prepared a mixed goods for Henry when Edward arrived. Hello, Thomas, Edward greeted. Oh dear, you look rather down. Edward, said Thomas, I've done something terrible.
What?
And Thomas explained what had happened. When he had finished, Edward looked stern. Firstly, Thomas, I'm quite disappointed that you stooped to Diesel's level, said Edward. But I must admit you had your reasons. As you said, Molly is still new to Sodor, and the last thing she needs is to be scared. Can't you do something, Edward? Said Thomas. If Diesel understood what it's like for us to fear the cutter's torch and scrapyards, he would be more of a respectful engine. There is something I can do, actually, said Edward thoughtfully.
What is that?
I have an old friend who works at a scrapyard on the other railway. We work together on the furnace line. If I can get Diesel up there, it will probably be an experience he would never forget. Leave everything to me, Thomas. I'll try and sort things out. And Edward puffed away. Thomas sat at the big station on his own, secretly hoping that Edward could sort Diesel out. It was lucky that during the evening, Edward was working with Diesel in the yards of Tidmouth. When the work was over, Diesel scuttled into the shed. He was just about to call it a day when Edward backed in beside him. Oh, look, it's old iron, Diesel scowled. Don't you even think about trying that routine with me, said Edward. I heard what happened today. Well, the next time that little blue runt tells me where to go, began Diesel. You will do nothing of the sort, cut in Edward. Why must you always taunt us with scrap, Diesel? What have we ever done to you? The Fat Controller's allowed this island to be your home, and you repay him by telling his engines that they should go to the cutter's torch, or worse. Steam engines are on their way out, Edward, said Diesel. You know that, and I know that. Is that so? Said Edward. Well, I will speak to the Fat Controller about this tomorrow. Maybe what you need is a different aspect on how scrap really works and who it affects. With nothing more to
Yep.
say, Edward went to sleep. Diesel stayed awake for a while, but even he was secretly nervous about what could happen to him the next day. When Diesel woke up the next day, Edward was already gone. He had been called away to the big station early. Regardless,
Okay.
Diesel carried on with his work and thought nothing more about the conversation he'd had with Edward. By the evening, Diesel was shunting trucks at Brendam Docks when the Fat Controller arrived. "Ah, Diesel," he said, "I thought I'd find you here. I would like you to go to the scrapyard on the other railway, please. The engine that works there needs some assistance. You will not be coming back here until morning." "Of course, sir," said Diesel. "Thank you, Diesel," said the Fat Controller. He tipped his hat and walked away.
So Diesel's going to get his
rolled
own experience
eyes.
of scrap right now.
"This has Edward written all over it," he muttered. But he still had to do what he was told. Before long, Diesel had left the comforts of the North Western Railway behind him and had crossed the bridge, heading over to the mainland. The journey was long and tiring, and halfway to the scrapyard, Diesel had to stop for fuel. As he did, a little red tank engine pulled up beside him.
Who's this?
"I was wondering when you'd be back," she giggled. "Go away, Martha," Diesel grumbled.
Martha.
"I'm in no mood."
One of Kiefer's
"So have they
OCs?
sent you away again?" asked Martha. "I thought the North Western Railway was your new home now." Diesel looked away. "I heard what happened when you came back last time," said Martha. "It's a shame you're not a mainland engine anymore." "I said go away, Martha," Diesel snapped. "I've got more important things to do than be reminded of a silly little engine of what I used to be like." "Oh, suit yourself," said Martha. "Where are you going anyway?" "The scrapyard," Diesel said bluntly. "Well, you're not far away from it," said Martha. "Just follow the line down and take the first left." "Thank you," Diesel muttered through gritted teeth. And once he was refueled,
He didn't want to be told
rumbled out of the
directions.
yard. "He won't last 10 minutes in that area," chuckled Martha, and she scurried back to work. As Diesel neared the scrapyard, it was clear that
Murray. So this is another one of Kiefer's OCs right there. A crane who works at the scrapyard called Murray. Okay, so yeah, so far Thomas said something regretful to Diesel right there, but Edward has a plan for Diesel to experience scrap.
Martha was not the only familiar face to greet him. A large grey crane eyed Diesel suspiciously as he rumbled through an old industrial yard.
"Well, I never thought I'd live to see the day,"
He exclaimed.
"Back in business, are we, Diesel?"
"Mind your own business, Murray," Diesel roared back. Murray just chuckled. When Diesel used to work on the other railway, Murray delighted in teasing the shunter.
"So where are you going then?"
Murray asked. "The scrapyard. What's this? Educate Diesel night?"
"I only asked,"
insisted Murray.
"Hope you have a blast, Diesel."
Diesel groaned and rumbled away. Murray just chuckled.
"Just like old times."
He grinned.
He must
and
be
he
old
carried
and wise.
on loading some trucks nearby. Finally, Diesel arrived at the entrance of the scrapyard. It was bigger than the smelters, and secretly, Diesel wished he had company to join him. His wish would soon be granted when a
Who's
shrill
this?
whistle was heard. A little brown tank engine pulled up beside him. "Diesel, I assume?" he said plainly. "Yes," said Diesel, "and who are you?" "I'm Josiah," replied the engine. "You'll be
Josiah.
working with me tonight." Diesel raised an eyebrow. "Do you happen to know Edward, by any chance?" "Of course I do," replied Josiah. "I used to work with him on the Furness Railway. When our line closed down, Edward went to Sodor, and I came here." "Fascinating," said Diesel sarcastically. "I've dealt with engines like you before," said Josiah. "Before we get started, I'd like you to come with me, please. There's something I'd like to show you." And Josiah
What
puffed
is
into the
it?
scrapyard. This will be thrilling, muttered Diesel, and he followed closely behind Josiah. As Diesel followed Josiah into the scrapyard, he never took
Whoa! Is that a scrap diesel engine right there? Whoa!
his eyes off the broken down cars, battered trucks, the torn frames of coaches, and the remains of steam engines that had long since passed their working life. All of a sudden, Josiah came to a stop. Diesel was so startled he nearly bumped into the back of the little engine.
Oh!
Tell me, Diesel, said Josiah. You're the kind of engine that would tell a steam engine that he's way past it, and that you diesels are revolutionary, correct? It's like you've read me as a book, Diesel muttered. Why do you ask? Well, take a look over there, said Josiah, and
Look
tell
at
me what you
Diesel's
see.
face!
Diesel's
the
mouth
scrapped engine.
dropped open when he did. There in front of him was the remains of a diesel engine. There were no buffers, no wheels, no engine, just a rusted shell. Diesel was even more horrified that the engine standing before him was a member of his own class. This fella thought he was superior, said Josiah. Always told the steam engines here that they would never be useful, never work past their work in life, and would laugh at their remains when they were scrapped. He got caught in a very nasty accident not too long ago. He ventured out onto the main line, thinking he was better than everyone else, and collided with an express train, which was thankfully repaired. Now look at him. Cut down to scrap and nothing more. So go on, Diesel.
Even
Tell
diesels
me that
aren't
steam
safe from
engines have
scrap.
passed their prime now. Diesel couldn't find his voice. He didn't know what to say. This shunter, a member of his own class standing before him in a scrap heap, was too much to bear. I didn't think so, said Josiah at last. Now come on, we still got work to do. And he puffed away into the night, with Diesel following nervously behind, not once taking his eyes off the shell of the diesel engine in the scrap pile.
Wow.
Diesel and Josiah worked hard
Oh,
into
look,
the
he's
night.
even crying.
Before long, all the trucks were loaded, and Diesel was actually looking forward to heading back to Sodor. He was just about to leave when something stopped him. Ahead of him were the remains of some steam engines. They were all ready for the cutter's torch. Just as Josiah arrived, a small tear trickled down Diesel's face and splashed on his buffer. Hey, said Josiah, it's all right. No, it's not, said Diesel. What have I done? Engines don't deserve this. No one does.
No.
I'm sorry I was harsh on you, said Josiah. You know, I was just like you when I was young. Even Edward tried to put me in my place, but I wouldn't listen. But you know, after working in this scrapyard, I now understand why it's important. A steam
That was
engine might be
Diesel's dark
scrapped,
truth.
but its remains can be used to fix others. Give those who are still working a second chance through life. So it's not all bad news. Diesel gave a small smile. Thank you, Josiah, he whispered softly. No worries, said Josiah. Have a safe trip back, won't you? And say hi to Edward for me. I will, said Diesel, and he rolled silently and respectfully out of the scrapyard. Josiah watched until he was out of sight. It was full daylight by the time Diesel returned to the Fat Controller's railway, and for the first time he actually felt like he was home again. He met Thomas at the junction. He was about to go to the fishing village at Norrby to help Arthur.
Okay.
Diesel, said Thomas, where have you been? On an experience I'll never forget, replied Diesel. Listen, I'm sorry. No, said Thomas, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that to you. I hope we can look past it, you oily
Definitely.
creature. Of course I can, you silly steamer, Diesel said. Thank you for understanding. So, where did you go? Asked Thomas. Let's just say, said Diesel, Without an old friend of Edward's, I might have come back the same engine as I was when I left.
Ooh.
Goodbye, Thomas. Have a good day, won't you? And Diesel rolled away. Thomas gave a small smile and looked down at his buffers. Good old Edward, he whispered. He was pleased that the old engine had kept his word and had helped to sort Diesel out after all. At Knapford Station, Gordon and Emily were just talking about how quiet it had been without Diesel, when, as if on cue, Diesel rolled in.
He just rolls up and appears.
Good morning, Gordon. Emily, he greeted politely. Lovely day, isn't it? Oh, it's quite lovely, smiled Emily. Diesel, said Gordon, are you feeling all right? I feel splendid, Gordon, said Diesel. I've just gone to the other railway to help out at a scrapyard, and I felt the experience has done me some good. Well done, Diesel, said Emily. Now, if you excuse me, I've got work to do.
He's a changed
Go and
Diesel.
break another record, Gordon. The Express relies on you. And Diesel rumbled away. What was that all about? Asked Gordon. I dinna know, said Emily. But if that's the new Diesel, I quite like it.
So do I.
Diesel was surprisingly good for several days. Despite his experience at the scrapyard, he was still devious, as he is that sort of engine. He even had the courage to apologise to Molly, and told Edward all about Josiah. Diesel never forgot his experience at the scrapyard on the other railway, nor did he forget Josiah. When he had a moment on his own, he would think about the old engine and what he had taught him. Diesel never talks about scrap now, nor does he use it as a threat to the other engines. But he now knows that he truly does have a place on the island of Sodor, and he is quite lucky to be a member of the Fat Controllers Railway, whether he is devious or not.
And there we go. So, the dark truth that Diesel found out right there was the fact that Diesels aren't immune from scrap. I have seen stories where it's shown that even Diesels aren't safe from scrap, but this was probably one of my favorites out of all of them, because the way Diesel reacted after that, and how the Diesel ended up in that situation. So, yeah. So I would love to see a story where Diesel 10 finds out that even Diesels aren't immune from scrap. I would love to see a story around that of him finding it out like that, but I guess I'll have to wait a while. Guess I would have to wait a while for that, but wow. And the fact that Diesel actually got emotional about it just goes to show you how it deeply affected him, and how he had to learn the truth the hard way, that Diesels are not immune from scrapped. From scrap, I mean, not scrapped. So yeah, we talked about the suffering of steam engines during the Dr. Beeching era, and now, who knows? Who knows what will happen happen now for some diesel engines, and like Josiah said, that even though some diesels can't make it, their old parts can be used to save another diesel's life. It is, and that is the good thing about it. So yeah, that's how Diesel supposedly became a changed engine in the TVS, as he no longer used scrap to tow other engines. So nice backstory for that, Kiefer. Nice backstory for that. Been wanting to watch it this story for quite some time. Let me say, definitely worth it, and feels like definitely a dark episode from the Hid era. It is definitely felt like it. You do want to check out my previous Thomas reactions, whether it's an audio story or trades adaptation. I will have a playlist up in the top right corner of your screen right now. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button for me. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought this audio story I reacted to. Also let me know in the comments down below what other videos you want me to react to next. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. Links to both of them will be in the description down below. Share this video, subscribe if you're new here, ring that bell to get notified when I upload new videos, when I post in the community tab, and I'll see you all in the next one.